What's up, everybody? Nick O'Dwyer back for the 10th inning, giving you another episode of This Day in Sports History. In yesterday's episode, we saw Don Sutton become the 19th member of the 300 win club. Since Sutton got his 300th win, there have been 5 other members to have joined the club, but it is still one of the most exclusive clubs for starting pitchers in Major League Baseball. We don't have any pitchers getting their 300th victories today, but we do have a lot of important events to get into. So if you all enjoy this video, like what you see, hit that like button. If you want to see more of this content, hit that subscribe button. Let's get into it. This Day in Sports History. We start out today all the way back in 1846 when Alexander Cartwright's New York Knickerbockers defeated the New York Nine 23-1 in the very first organized baseball game, which was played at the Elysian Fields. This contest was the very first ever game played in public using Cartwright's rules. Now obviously the game has changed immensely since these rules, but this was really the first official game. Now we have another first in 1867, and we have the first Belmont Stakes, which saw Ruthless win in 3 minutes and 5 seconds. The Belmont Stakes is one of the oldest races in North America. It predates both of its companions in the Preakness Stakes and the Kentucky Derby for the Triple Crown. It's 6 years older than the Preakness, and it is the 4th oldest race in North America. 30 years later, in 1897, at the U.S. National Championships on the women's side, the 1895 title winner, Juliet Atkinson, would win it once again, this time defeating the 96 champion, Elizabeth Moore, 6-3, 6-3, 4-6, 3-6, 6-3 in 5 sets. This would be the second of 3 U.S. championships for Atkinson and 3 majors overall. This would also be the first of a back-to-back for Atkinson at the U.S. Nationals. Now we move into the 20th century. In 1908 at the British Open, James Braid wins his 4th championship of 5 overall, 8 strokes ahead of runner-up Tom Ball. We stick with the British Open in 1914. Harry Vardon wins a record 6th Open championship and his final of 7 overall majors, 3 strokes ahead of runner-up and defending champion J.H. Taylor. Now we move up to 1924, and we have 2 world records, both by the same man. If you remember, this man set a world record on June the 18th too. Yes, Paavo Nurmi. First, he ran the world record 5,000 meters in 14 minutes, 28.2 seconds, and then he ran the world record 1,500 meter in 3 minutes, 52.6 seconds. I think it's pretty safe to say, with Nurmi having all of these great awards, he was one of the greatest runners of his time, of his generation. Now we go to boxing in 1936, and we saw Max Schmeling knock out the young Joe Louis in 12 rounds. At this point in his career, Joe Louis was 24-0 with 24 knockouts. This would be the first loss of his career, and really a loss that he didn't take too well. 2 years later, they would meet up again. This time though, went the complete opposite direction. Joe Louis ended up knocking out Schmeling in the first round. 1 year later, at the 1937 LPGA Western Open, Helen Hitch wins the first of 2 major titles, defeating B. Barrett 6-5 in the final. Now we move up to 1938 at the FIFA World Cup final. We saw Italy going up against Hungary. This would be the 3rd edition of the World Cup. It would start in 1930, then 1934. Now we have 1938. This would be Italy's 2nd appearance. They were looking for their 2nd championship, as they had won it in 1934. Gino Colauzzi started off the scoring for Italy in the 6th minute, and then Hungary bounced right back with Pal Titko scoring in the 8th minute. 8 minutes later in the 16th minute, Silvio Piola scored. Then before halftime, in the 35th minute, Colauzzi scored one more time, giving him 2 goals for the game. Italy going up 3-1 at halftime. Now in the second half, for Hungary, Giorgi Sarosi scored in the 70th minute, making it a 1-point game, 3-2. But in the 82nd minute, Silvio Piola scored once again, giving him 2 goals as well for the 4-2 lead. This would be a lead Italy would not give up the rest of the game, and Italy would win their 2nd FIFA World Cup. 4 years later in 1942, Paul Wainer becomes the 7th player to reach 3,000 hits in Major League Baseball. This would come against his former team, the Pittsburgh Pirates, in the bottom of the 5th inning off of Rip Sewell. Wayner would join players such as Cap Anson, Honus Wagner, Nap Lajoie, Ty Cobb, Tris Speaker, and Eddie Collins in the 3,000 hit club. Now we go back to boxing, back to Joe Louis in 1946. Joe Louis knocked out Billy Conn in the 8th round to successfully defend the heavyweight title for the 22nd time. 6 years later in 1952, Brooklyn Dodger pitcher Carl Erskine no-hit the Chicago Cubs in a 5-0 victory. Erskine on the day, 9 innings pitched, 1 walk, 1 strikeout, and the walk came in the bottom of the 3rd inning to the opposing pitcher, Willie Ramsdale. Must not have been the best feeling, giving up your only free pass of the day to the opposing pitcher, but bottom line is, it happened. He still got the no-hitter. Dodgers still got the victory. Now we move up to 1954 and we have the US Open men's golf and we also have the LPGA Western Open. At the US Open, Ed Fergal with the score of 4 over won his only major title, 1 stroke ahead of runner-up Gene Littler. Now at the Western Open, Betty Jamieson wins 6-5 over Louise Suggs in her 3rd and final major victory of her career. 1 year later in 1955, right back to the US Open, Jack Fleck with a score of 7 over wins an 18-hole playoff, 3 strokes ahead of runner-up Ben Hogan. This victory for Fleck not only denied Hogan a record 5th US Open title, but this would be his only major in his career. Now we move up to 1974. In Major League Baseball, Kansas City Royals pitcher Steve Busby threw his 2nd career no-hitter as the Royals defeated the Milwaukee Brewers 2-0. Busby would become the only pitcher in MLB history to throw 2 no-hitters within his first 2 seasons in the league. On the day, 9 innings pitched, 1 walk allowed, 3 strikeouts. He would end up walking the first batter of the 2nd inning, but no one else would reach base. They would get the victory. He would get a no-hitter. Now we go back to the US Open in 1977, and Hubert Green shoots 2 under to defeat runner-up Lou Gramm by 1 stroke and win the first of 2 majors in his career. Now we go back to boxing. In 1992, we saw Evander Holyfield going up against Larry Holmes, and Holyfield ended up defeating Holmes in 12 rounds to retain the heavyweight boxing title in his 2nd defense. 7 years later at the 1999 Stanley Cup, the Dallas Stars were going up against the Buffalo Sabres, and the Stars would end up defeating the Sabres 4-2. If you're a Buffalo Sabres fan, I advise you, stop listening right now. This will bring back painful memories, and it will hurt. In the Game 6 victory for the Stars, they won 2-1 in triple overtime, with Brett Hull clinching the series with the infamous no-goal ruling that would end up being the game-winning and the series-winning goal for the Stars. The Stars would end up scoring in the first period, getting the early 1-0 lead, but Stu Barnes came back in the second period with 2 minutes left, evening up the game 1-1. There would be no more scoring for a while in this game. Finally, in triple overtime, 15 minutes into the period, Brett Hull would score one of the most controversial goals of all time, and it would lead to the Dallas Stars' first and only Stanley Cup final. Alright, Sabres fans, I'm done. You can come back now. Now we move up to the 2000 NBA Championship, which saw the Los Angeles Lakers defeat the Indiana Pacers 4-2. In the series, Shaquille O'Neal was the MVP. He would average a ridiculous 38 points, 16.7 rebounds, with 2.7 blocks per game. Kobe Bryant wasn't quite Kobe Bryant yet, but he still contributed, averaging 15.6 points for the Lakers. For the Pacers, Reggie Miller with 24.3 and Jalen Rose with 23 led the scoring for them. But in the Game 6 victory for the Lakers, 116-111, Shaquille O'Neal had 41 points, Kobe Bryant added 26. That season, Shaquille O'Neal would go on to sweep the MVP awards, win the regular season MVP, win the All-Star MVP, along with Tim Duncan, and win the NBA Finals MVP. I would say, for one of the most dominant players of all time, he dominated that season. Now we move up to 2005, and at the US Open in 2005, Michael Campbell, who would play for an even par throughout the 4 rounds, ended up defeating runner-up Tiger Woods to clinch his only major victory, 2 strokes ahead of Tiger Woods. Now we move up to 2006 at the Stanley Cup Final, and the Carolina Hurricanes defeated the Edmonton Oilers in 7 games, 4-3. In Game 7, the Hurricanes would end up winning 3-1. In this series, they were actually up 3-1. The Oilers fought back though, forced it to a Game 7. Game 7 though, they just couldn't match with the Hurricanes. Aaron Ward ended up scoring in the first period for Carolina. Then František Kabiri scored in the second for Carolina, giving them a 2-0 lead. Edmonton came back in the third with Fernando Pisani scoring early in the third, but then with 1 minute remaining in the game, Justin Williams scored an empty net goal, giving Carolina the 3-1 lead, giving them the victory, and this would be the only Stanley Cup for Carolina till this day. Now we move up to 2011 at the US Open, and Rory McIlroy won 8 strokes ahead of runner-up Jason Day. This victory would set 11 tournament records for the Irishman, including the lowest 72-hole score at 268 and lowest total under par, 16 under. This would be the first of 4 major victories for McIlroy and his only US title. 4 years later in 2015, Alex Rodriguez, doesn't matter what you think of him, notches his 3,000th hit when he hit a first-inning home run off of Detroit Tigers pitcher Justin Verlander. Rodriguez joined the 3,000 hit club in style, joining only Wade Boggs and Derek Jeter as the only players to hit a home run for their 3,000th hit. Rodriguez also became the 29th player to join the 3,000 hit club. Now, finally in 2016, we have 2 events. We have the US Open and the NBA Finals occurring. First at the US Open, despite a controversial penalty on the 5th green, Dustin Johnson, with a score of 4 under, wins 3 strokes ahead of runners-up Shane Lowry, Jim Furyk, and Scott Piercy to win his only major title. Finally at the NBA Finals, the promise was fulfilled. LeBron James promised to bring a championship to Cleveland. It was finally fulfilled as they defeated the defending champions Golden State Warriors 4-3. This Cavaliers team is also known for being the only team to overcome a 3-1 deficit in the finals. For the series, LeBron James averaged 29.7 points and 11.3 rebounds, and Kyrie Irving, great wingman, 27.1 points. For the Warriors, Stephen Curry, 22.6 points, Klay Thompson, 19.6 points, and Draymond Green, 16.5 points. In the 93-89 victory in Game 7, LeBron James had a triple-double, 27 points, 11 assists, 11 rebounds. Kyrie Irving added 26 points. For the Warriors, Stephen Curry had 17 points and Draymond Green almost had a triple-double, 32 points, 15 boards, 9 assists, but no one was going to deny the Cavaliers this year. LeBron James, Kyrie Irving, too much for the pre-Kevin Durant Warriors. So there you have it. That's what happened on this day in sports history. If I left anything out, let me know down in the comment section. If I mispronounced any names, I do apologize. And I will see you all tomorrow for Nico Dwyer and the 10th inning.